Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very accomplished and senior professional from the US, talking to us today from Australia, Kim Normand Dobrin. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Kim is the co-founder and CEO of Free the Mind company. She's an author of 3 best-selling books in South Africa. She's been recognized, awarded, and felicitated several times, and she's the founding director of the Apartheid Museum in South Africa. So, Kim, before we talk about Free the Mind and workplace well-being, tell me a little bit about your own journey.
Well, I think, like most people, you don't really know where your journey is going to take you. It's very easy in retrospect. But when we're looking at going forward, we actually have no idea. And I never really wanted a career. I wanted to be the best mom and the best wife that I could be. And then man plans and God laughs, and we obviously went with his plan. So I'm South African. I come from quite a challenged childhood. And walking out of Schindler's List, I realized that this was about humanity. And if I wanted my own children to be raised in a better world, then best I get involved. And so every choice that I have made along the way has really reflected that. It's about how can I make the world a better place for my own children and for every other child that I can possibly impact in a positive way in the smallest ways, because, you know, it's as much as we can do.
Very well said. Well said. So tell me a little bit now about Free the Mind, and what are you doing here, and what was your motivation to start?
Well, Free the Mind Co. My son is both my child and my business partner, and he has written 3 books all about Freddie, who lives in a magical rainforest. And it came about when he was doing his yoga teacher training in Bali, and he called and he said to me, there's one common denominator between everyone, and that's fear and anxiety. And we have to do something about it because it stops potential and it stops opportunity. And so he wrote these beautiful, magical books, and we got an animator illustrator to design them and illustrate them. And then we built them out into activity sticker books and into workbooks and then into a full curriculum. And I left South Africa in 2016 to go live in Atlanta in America. And we then launched in 2018, 2019, Free the Mind Co. And what it is when you free your mind, you're open to opportunity and possibility.
Right.
And so we built this out into curriculum to take into classrooms and to help teachers and families and parents with social emotional learning, but with real skills and tools to build the inner resource that you can rely on. Because the outside world, as we know, is very fickle. Correct. And it changes. So if you don't have those skills and tools inside you, it's very difficult to navigate life. And everyone and society puts so much emphasis on academia. And yes, it's important. But, academia is a key to a job that's going to start and it's going to finish.
Correct.
And no one teaches you how to live life. And life can be very challenging as well as joyful.
Absolutely.
And so what we do is we've now built this out because of COVID online. So we've got incredible online programs that are self-led for children in the schooling system. They're also hybrid with teacher manual. We've got a parent family program and teacher professional development. And that's what we're doing. We're giving the skills and the tools in a very fun, dynamic way. We believe children should learn through fun and very real. It's very practical and very real.
Fascinating. You also talk a lot about well-being.
Yes.
Let me start by asking you, how do you define well-being?
Well, well-being for me, and it's only my opinion, as you know, everyone has their own. But for me, it's a sense of feeling good. It's a sense of feeling healthy. So for the body, well-being is health. For the mind, it's joy. For emotion, it's love. For your life energies, it's blissfulness, and then for finance, it's stability and abundance.
Correct.
And, when we talk about this, I think everyone aspires to it, and yet they're not quite sure what it is. Like you say, like, what does it mean to me? Everyone has their own understanding of it.
Correct. Well said. And, it's often been said that there are 5 steps to improve well-being. And I'm quoting someone I had interviewed, which are connect, be active, take notice, keep learning, and give. I thought these were very interesting. So I thought I'll ask you, what are your thoughts on these 5 steps?
Well, as I said before, I think everyone finds their way of finding how to navigate that path. As you know, there are many, many paths up the mountain.
Correct.
For me, one of the most important things is a sense of self. It's self-awareness. It's self-understanding. Because if you don't understand yourself, how do you begin to understand anyone else? So self-growth, for me, is the most important thing. If we can teach children a sense of self, because we grow and we change and we face with different experiences in our lives. So we have to understand how we are doing that. And then once you do that, it's the connection to everything around us, connection to others, connection to the environment. It's so important to feel part of, because we are all connected. I really know that. I really believe in that I'm connected to you, even though we're on the other side of the world.
Correct.
I know that I'm connected to you. And when you know that you're connected to others and you have a deep understanding of yourself, you'll treat them as you wish to be treated yourself. No one has to teach you not to be mean, or because you're part of me. Why would I want to be mean to you?
Well said.
So, yeah.
Well said. And Kim, there are different aspects of well-being. There is emotional, physical, financial, social. What are your thoughts on how does one manage these different aspects in each one of us?
I think it's an ongoing journey. I think we're all in process. There's no such thing as getting there. Where is there? As we age, we're faced with different dynamics. So it's never an end point. And curiosity, as you said previously, curiosity is so important. It's, what does this mean? What am I going through? How do I navigate it? So it's this constant journey that we need to commit to. And it's a commitment. And once you start it, it's very hard to go back.
Correct.
Because there's just so much to move you forward.
Well said. And is there a way that we can measure our well-being? I mean, it's always relative. But are there any tools available? This is how I was yesterday and this is how I'm feeling tomorrow.
I think that's a really tough one. We've done so much research, qualitative and quantitative research, and I work with people who have got apps and programs where you can measure certain things. Do I think that we can measure it exactly? No, I think it's a very difficult one to measure because it's so dynamic and organic as you work with it. And I think you're the best judge to say, how are you actually feeling if you have got that self-awareness in you?
Well said. And in your opinion, do men and women handle the status of, or the stage of well-being they're in differently?
I'm not an expert in this field.
Okay.
However, through experience and observation, I definitely think so. I think women are naturally open and curious about communicating emotion, about really wanting to understand it. Whereas men, and I think society has done this so much, men are very directed. It's their career. And they've done research. For instance, if a job comes up or something in the career space, a woman will work very hard to be qualified and they won't apply for it because they're not qualified enough for it. Whereas a man will jump in and take the risk and actually just learn it as he goes. So that in itself tells you so much about how women respond and how men respond, and really what consensus reality has done as society, right? As how we raise our children.
Interesting. And my next question to you is, we spoke about the pandemic when we started a little bit, this when your son wrote those books, and we'll talk a little more about the books. Do you think the pandemic has impacted our well-being?
Huge, huge. I actually said to my son the other day, I said to him that we are living in history. The pandemic showed us a different world completely, and everyone's trying to scramble not only to understand it, but to normalize it. We like to have comfort zone. We like to understand what's going on in our world. And at this stage, there's not much we know. People are suffering from long COVID. People are really ill. Doctors really don't know what they're looking at. They're trying to find solutions. As far as education goes, education has changed tremendously. For us, example, we were in the classroom just all hands-on, and now we've got this incredible online program. So there has been so much change. People are burnt out. They are overwhelmed. Teachers, there's a 50% retention rate for teachers. And then the flip side, the positive side, has been so incredible because the connections have just escalated tremendously. What we can do globally. We're so interconnected right now. And I think a lot of people realize that. And that's a beautiful thing.
Very interesting. There's one more question relating to well-being, and then we'll move to your books again. And that's about culture. Different cultures talk about well-being in different ways. Some people love to talk about the state of their mind, the state of their health, etc., and others very stoically don't want to talk about it. I'd love to get your thoughts on how does culture impact well-being?
Again, I mean, this is not something that I've studied. I've just experienced it because I've traveled so much and worked globally. Culture is a huge aspect in many ways. It's our mindset. It's how we think about things. It's how we function in the world. It comes with a blueprint. And unless you are prepared to challenge that blueprint, you're simply following suit. And that's one of the things that I want to challenge people now, is to stop and say, am I happy with this blueprint? Do I want to change this blueprint? Am I doing everything because I was told to do this? Or is it because I really believe in it? Do I really want this? So if you look at you in India now, so if you look at the Indian culture, it's very connected to the history and to meditation and to yoga and to eating beautiful vegetarian food, and it's very tactile. Like, I love being in India because I can eat with my fingers. It becomes such an immersive sensory experience. Whereas if you go to the UK, to Britain, it's very stoic and don't talk about your emotions. You've got to suck it up and put a brave face on because no one wants to hear it.
Correct.
And so culture plays out in many different ways, how we raise our children, how we educate them. And now we're learning from each other because the pandemic has thrown everyone up in arms. And so it's about everyone connecting and going, okay, what's the best practice? How do we learn from each other?
Very interesting. So let's come back to the books that you were telling me your son wrote. Tell me a little more about how are you really taking the message out to so many different parts of the world?
So we've recently launched the online programs. They're accessible. They're in English now, and we've been getting requests in different languages. We do want it in many, many different languages. And it's very, very easy. There's a preview on freethemindco.com for teachers. There's so much information there so they can get a free preview of the program. It's for children between the ages of 5 and 12 to 14. And then there's a teacher program as well as a family program. And Freddie lives in a magical rainforest, and it's very inclusive. So we wanted everyone to look at Freddie and see themselves in it and see themselves in Freddie. It didn't matter where you came from in the world or what language you spoke. The other thing is that you'll see very few real children in the program because, again, we wanted all children to be able to relate to it. So Freddie has animal friends in the magical rainforest. And we've got an avatar who's a bird, who's wonderful. And it's very much about talking to teachers and parents and saying to them, what do you want? School counselors, psychologists. And the teacher was saying, give us something light. Don't give us heavy. We've got too much going on as it is. So it's a very light lift for teachers. They all wanted it to be self-led. So if they do it at home, the parents didn't want to be having to hover it and be responsible. The kids can do this by themselves. Or at school. And the teachers didn't want to be redundant, as no teacher should. So it's got a hybrid model where every grade and every standard gets their own teacher manual. That's organic and dynamic, and it works and adjusts to teaching style. And then we work directly with the teachers and with families as well.
And do you use Freddie as a prop to be able to communicate messages to children?
Yes.
Or
Freddie's the main character. The first story is about how do you release your fears and anxiety, which is a very important aspect right now. Anxiety has gone up 4 times since the pandemic. 4 times. Where everyone thought the kids would want to go back to school and be happy to go back to school, they are not. They're not integrating. They are really struggling. And so this program talks to them about emotional understanding. Another thing is that because of the masks, children, little ones, were not learning to speak properly, and they weren't learning the cues. So I look at your face and I can say, okay, are you smiling? What does that mean? So kids weren't learning all of this. Wow. All of that is in this program, as well as real skills and tools. What do you do when you have got these overwhelming emotions? What do you do in the moment? And what do you do after that? So we give them real skills and tools. There's also design and build, so it's fun. They design and build their own emotional thermometer, where they do drag and paste little stickers all over. And then we teach them how to actually do it in real life, so they can stick it on their wall.
Wow.
So it takes them through an emotional journey of really understanding and then building their dreams, because children don't necessarily dream anymore. They're so being pushed by society. You've got to get that A mark. You've got to get the top. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. We want children to start to dream again, because everything starts with a dream.
Correct.
So when you release those fears and anxiety and you understand emotions are all normal, that's another thing that we have a big thing. There's no good or bad emotions. Emotions are the barometer, and it just tells you what you're feeling. So we want children to know that. Just because you're angry doesn't mean it's a bad emotion.
Correct.
So all of this is in the program, and it's fun, and it's bright, and it's light, and there's music in it. And the data collection is really superb. So you can track the data from
for my viewers and listeners, Kim, are these books available on Amazon?
Yes, you can order them on Amazon, but you can also order them on our website, freethemindco.com.
freethemindco.com. Okay. So I'm going to ask all our viewers and listeners to go and check out
freethemindco.com.
Yeah.
As well as Instagram. Sure. They're welcome to follow Free the Mind Co.
Okay, will do.
So yes, that's what it is. And as we're building out one book, we'll do the next book and the next book. The second book is all about what gift do you bring to the world? You know, so many people, you ask them, what gift do you bring to the world? They go, I have no idea. But every single individual who comes into our world brings a gift.
Absolutely right.
And what a beautiful thing to teach children that you've got this uniqueness. You've got a gift. What do you want to share with the world?
How fascinating. How fascinating. So I've got time for a couple of more questions, and I'd like to talk to you about the Apartheid Museum in South Africa. You're the founding director.
Sure.
Tell me about the museum and what went into curating something like this.
It was an enormous accomplishment. It was actually sponsored by one of the businessmen in South Africa. He put up 100 million of his own money to build it. And then there was an incredible team. And the discussion was very challenging, because we thought, okay, how far back do you go? Because everything's got a history. And apartheid came out of a history. It's something that I'm very proud to be part of. I was raised in an apartheid South Africa, so it's my personal history as well. And then to share that with others. I believe that you should always look into the history when you go to any country. And so when someone goes to South Africa, I really encourage them to not only go there on a vacation. You know, I was blessed to have known and been connected with Nelson Mandela. And for me, he's my greatest role model. His humbleness, his commitment, his focus. He was never a politician. He was always a humanitarian.
I agree.
And he just wanted to make the world a better place. And I, in my tiny little way, try and follow in his footsteps.
How fascinating. And he was an absolutely amazing man. I first met him when he received the Singapore Prime Minister's delegation, I think in 1993 or something like that, in the Table Mountain, Mount Nelson Hotel.
Oh, amazing. Amazing.
He was there, but
and he was just his aura when he walked into a room was just so powerful without him even doing anything.
Correct.
And you know, we went to his house one day. I was supposed to be filming him for something I was doing, and our film crew wasn't there. And so my daughter and I sat in his lounge, just the three of us, having the best cup of rooibos ever. And he just spoke to her for an hour. And I walked out thinking he truly is the children's president.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. And Kim, my last question to you, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation. What would you say are 3 lessons? You know, you had such an amazing journey of your own, you know, your own life, coming from South Africa, opportunity to spend time with Mr. Mandela, Free the Mind Co., Wellbeing. What would you say are 3 lessons you want our viewers and listeners to take away?
Number one, I think foremost for me is always be humble. Because we're all in process. If you think anyone has real answers, forget it.
Yeah.
We're all trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so don't be so hard on yourself. As long as you're moving forward and doing the best that you can to learn more, that for me is essential. The second thing is have a focus not only for yourself, but for others in the world. Whatever you do, leave a legacy, however small or however large it may be, where you've touched other people's lives, where you've made someone happy for a minute, for an hour, for a day, whatever that case may be. Because if we all do those, the ripple effects are just so incredible. And really come from a place of gratitude and appreciation for what you have in your life as well as what you're surrounded with. And we all face challenges, and sometimes in life when we're facing major challenges, it's difficult to see it. And I've got a practice that I do every single night. I get into bed no matter how hard my day has been, and I go, what am I grateful for today? What abundance did I have? And the abundance can be something so tiny like having, I really enjoyed that cup of tea. Or it could be really huge, like, oh, wow, we got into a school with 1,000 kids, or whatever the case may be. But no matter how hard the day is, there's always some light, and there's always someone who's going through way more challenges than you.
Wow.
You know, so I really, really keep that in mind.
Wonderful. And on that note, Kim, and your 3 wonderful lessons, always be humble. We are all work in progress. Have a focus for others, leave a legacy. And third one, always remember about gratitude and appreciation in life. Thank you so much for speaking to me about your journey, about Free the Mind Co., about well-being, about all the work that you're doing with so many different children. Thank you again, and good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the brand called You Videocast and Podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called you.